I'm going to demonstrate and break down a 5-day content
Campaign.
campaign that you can use to turn your followers into inbound DMs. Because it's no secret that we're living in the age of AI. Welcome, my friend. Information itself is a commodity, knowledge is a commodity. If we're being real, our IP is now a commodity. People can go on to their choice of AI and they can find information now within seconds. We as creators can create content and information within seconds to maybe minutes. And so the differentiator is no longer who can post the most content or the most ads and have the most volume. It's who can actually strategically create content to shift our audience's beliefs and their perspectives and to call them into action. And that's what I'm going to show you here today. So here's the deal. Most coaches, at least that I know, they are posting content consistently, especially if you've been at this for a minute. But almost none post strategically. The issue is like we're told to post more, run more ads, just drive more top of funnel traffic. But the problem I see when I'm working behind the scenes and doing consulting with different companies in our space is that there's a lot of unqualified leads that are coming in because again, people might see a lead magnet, they might want to opt in for your VSL or a training or a challenge, but they're not actually taking action because we're not strategically putting the right types of content in front of them that are actually getting them to see things differently and that are driving them to want to buy from you. And so what we need is more, not more content, not more posts, not more ads necessarily, but we need more intention behind the content. And that's what a conversion content campaign is. And I define this as a 3 to 7 day intentional sequence of posts that are designed to create demand, shift people's beliefs, your right, your audience's, your dream clients' beliefs, and to move them into what I call a conversion event. And this could be a workshop, a live masterclass, a lead magnet, a VSL, a promotion that gets them into your DMs or to a sales page. What I find converts best is going to be a live workshop or a live masterclass, especially if you're in the coaching or consulting space. It's going to, at least across my data with my company and the companies that I've helped, it works best. In fact, I have a client now who was stuck around $40,000 per month in his business. And the only like core thing that we implemented that helped double his business to now $97,000 a month was running initially a bi-weekly live masterclass. And now it's a monthly one. And that just helped drive traffic to a single source that he was able to say the right words in the right way, in the right order, to the right people, and then he gave a call to action and it drove a lot of people to actually book calls and to buy from him. And so that's what I want to show you how to do as well. And so here's the rhythm when it comes to content when we go strategic versus non-strategic. Like back in like 2019, even beyond, even before that, like 2012, 2019, especially when online coaching first became a thing, it's like you could just spray and pray and you would get lucky. You would be able to get clients coming in. At least that was true for me. We're well past that for obvious reasons. And so the rhythm of content, I call it your weekly content rhythm, that's going to build trust with your audience. It's like your ongoing posting, it's warming your audience up. There probably isn't going to be a lot of urgency or a lot of call to actions, at least there shouldn't be with your weekly rhythm because you're playing the long game. That's the key here, right? There's different types of content you'll post with your weekly rhythm. You might have connection content. Like you're posting content about what you stand for, what you stand against, your values, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and it attracts people that are like you because people like them. And then there's influence content. This is what I call mob content, where you're creating content around the common mistakes, objections, and limiting beliefs that your audience has. And you're essentially pulling them apart. You're discrediting mistakes that people are making, and you're getting them bought into a new way of thinking. And then there's authoritative content. This is going to be where you are maybe giving people insights. Like what I'm doing right now is a pretty authoritative piece of content. I am giving you an insight and how to hopefully you'll implement and that'll help you. And of course, authoritative content can also be social proof where you're giving testimonials and case studies. And then, of course, that leads us to conversion content. And so, when we run conversion content, we want to run it in these campaigns. This is what creates urgency. And it's a 3 to 7 day sprint that drives one action that's anchored to one event and that will end in more inbound DMs. And if you take sales calls, more sales calls, or if I've had clients that they drive people to a sales page, you'll get more people to your sales page and ultimately more people to buy your stuff. That's the key. And so every campaign is going to follow 4 moves. First is going to be a trigger. This is going to be where you have some type of opt-in post or call to action piece of content, and we'll go through different ways that you can do this. But the intention here is to spark interest. Number 2 is going to be the sequence. This is where you're going to have 3 to maybe 5 either belief shifting posts or proof driven posts to really get people bought in and essentially getting them to respond to your call to action. And then the third is going to be the actual event. This is going to be the live workshop you hold, the masterclass, if it's a lead magnet you're giving out, if it's a VSL you're driving people to, or promotion. It's the core event that we're driving the action towards. And then we have number 4 is the follow-up. The fortune, as you probably have heard, is in the follow-up. And of course, that is true. And so the cool thing is when you're following up with high intent leads that are like interested, it makes your job way easier because you're not having to chase people down that aren't actually interested. And this is where you get more inbound DMs from interested people. You're sending emails, you're booking sales calls, and you're ultimately enrolling clients. And so here's the steps that we want to go. And this is the most important thing right here. Step number 1 is we want to pick the pain, not 3 pains, not a whole category. We want to pick a specific problem that your ideal client is awake at 2 a.m., like just thinking about, anxious, stressed out. It's like, I don't know about you. I've been an entrepreneur now for 15 years, and I can tell you there's been many nights in the past 15 years where I've woken up. Maybe there's a business problem on my mind. There's something where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to figure this out. What is that problem for your ideal client? What is that problem? And this is the key, okay? Because most people are super generic or they're trying to talk to a whole niche. And therefore, when they pick a pain, it's still too generic. It's still too broad and it falls on deaf ears. It's like, I use this analogy. It's like, imagine you go into New York City. It's Times Square, New Year's Eve. Everybody's out there yelling. People have megaphones. They're having a great freaking time. And you go out there and you join the crowd and you start to yell. You have a megaphone and nobody's going to really notice you because everybody's yelling. Everybody's saying the same stuff. But imagine you have a dog whistle and you blow into that dog whistle. The only things that are going to turn around are going to probably be dogs. And that's what we want to do on social media. Social media is kind of like Times Square. Everybody's yelling. And so if you show up and you're saying the same things to everybody else, you're not going to really get noticed. But if you have that dog whistle where you're picking a pain that your dream client, a specific thing that they are thinking about. For example, maybe it's struggling to lose that last 15 pounds of stubborn belly fat if you're in the weight loss niche, or getting inconsistent sales from content, or signing clients without cold DMs. The more specific you can make that pain to what's actually going on in their life, the more of the right people you're going to actually get to respond. Step number 2 is we want to anchor it to one single pillar. This is absolutely key. So most coaches that I have done audits on and worked with, they skip this when they're initially trying to get these campaigns going. And this is a big problem. It's why their campaigns sell nothing. This is why if you've ever done a masterclass or promotion and it didn't produce what you know it should have produced, it's because you missed this, okay? And the rule here is that every campaign needs to build trust and demand for your unique mechanism, not just like quote unquote sell more clients or more fat loss or whatever your thing is. And so an important thing to note here, and this is kind of a sidebar, but stick with me. And so there's 4 sales that you got to make in your marketing that's going to make the actual sale, somebody handing you money, a lot easier. The first sale is you got to sell your ideal client on a new belief system. For example, if you're helping people with weight loss and they believe they need to eat diet, or they believe that their genetics are just all jacked up and this is just the way they're going to be, there's no way you're going to sell them on, let's say, for example, your unique mechanism is a flexible dieting solution. They're just not going to believe you as much as they want to because they're stuck in these old beliefs. So we got to sell somebody on a new belief And I'll demonstrate here in a minute how you shift the belief through things like storytelling. But that's the first sale, is a new belief. The second sale is an aspirational identity. Like, if people don't believe they can step into a new identity, they're going to stay rooted in their old identity. They're going to be afraid to take action. And there's multiple other reasons for this, but let's imagine you're helping moms get fit, right? And their current identity is a struggling mom, overweight, no time, just burned out all the time. And you're like, you want to be, so we need to sell them into, hey, you're the super mom. You're a role model for your kids. You're incredibly fit. You always find the time. They're going to want to buy into that. Does that make sense? The third sale is your unique solution. And so once the first two sales happen, it makes the third one a lot easier because people are now like, how do I do this? How do I actually get into it? Right. And then and we'll get into the unique solutions here in a second, but the fourth sale is social proof. And so, for example, back when I was selling my online fitness program, I was helping parents and business owners lose stubborn belly fat. And I basically would sell them on, hey, it's not about eating healthy, it's about eating right. Because everybody was like, I just need to eat healthy. So I sold them on the new belief of it's eating right. And then I was like, to eat right, you've got to be able to dial in your calories, eat the right proportions, eat foods that like work with your body, not against it. So people were then like, how, right? So then I would sell them on, hey, you could be this fit parent, this role model that's showing up confident in your marriage and in your business. And people were like, I want that. But they're like, how do I eat right? How do I do that? And I was like, well, I have my stubborn fat loss solution. And that was my unique solution. And I had, this is how you eat, this is how you work out, this is how you stay accountable, all of these different things in there. And then I demonstrated social proof, and I would tell stories of myself and other clients that would demonstrate how other people have done it, and that would get them to buy in. So that's a little bit of a sidebar, but we've got to be able to make these four sales. So all this to say now, like, you have to be able to anchor whatever that pain is from step number one into a unique mechanism, into a pillar. And so going back to my example, I would anchor it to my stubborn fat solution, or I would anchor it to a pillar within that, which might be what I used to call my flex fuel nutrition, or in today's age, magic messaging is a pillar of mine. Or right now, I'm anchoring, here's how to get more DMs through conversion content campaigns, right? So I'm anchoring a pain of maybe not getting DMs, or at least not as many quality ones as you like, to a pillar, which is content campaigns. Does that make sense? And so that's step number two. Step number three is we want to pick a conversion event. If the campaign, you need somewhere to bring people. And a lot of times people are spraying too many different call to actions out there, and it's confusing. So when you run a campaign, pick one. Is it going to be a live masterclass, a Zoom workshop, a lead magnet, a VSL, maybe a case study or a wait list, a low ticket workshop? There's many plays that I've done personally and that I've helped other clients build out. What I find that works best right now, again, just giving you my own kind of data here to maybe save you some time, is some type of live masterclass or a Zoom workshop. For most, especially if you're in the coaching space, that's going to work incredibly well. And it's not just about the mechanism, if you will. It's about what you say in the mechanism. And it's about how you're building the actual promotion of the mechanism, right? So we're going to go into the 3 to 5 posts here in just a minute, but this is absolutely key. Why a live masterclass and workshop tends to work better is because it falls into what Google calls the 7-11-4 formula, where people need to consume an average of 7 hours of content, 11 different touch points on 4 different mediums. And so, for example, when I help somebody build out an entire content ecosystem, I'm showing them how to set up their top of funnel. So you have like your Facebook or Instagram, you have your middle of funnel things like your email list, maybe a YouTube channel. This is how you can do it evergreen. But when you can infuse these campaigns in here and you drive somebody to a workshop and you're getting them onto a 60 to 90-minute workshop, that's a lot. That's a big chunk of time. So if somebody's already consumed a bit of your content on Instagram or maybe YouTube or an email, and now you're getting them to get like 60 to 90 minutes in one shot, that speeds up the time that it takes somebody to know, like, and trust and to want to work with you. which brings us back to the actual masterclass. So I have an entire framework on how to run an effective masterclass or workshop, and I call it the C5 framework. And it's a training in itself. I'll link it down below with examples of everything that we're going to go into that you can feel free to check out. But the biggest thing with a workshop or masterclass or any type of video that you want to convert from is you got to make those 4 sales that I previously mentioned. You got to make sure that you're selling people on a new belief. You've got to make sure that you're selling people on an aspirational identity. You got to make sure that you're selling your unique mechanism, and you got to make sure that you're demonstrating plenty of social proof. If you do those things effectively and you do say the right words, because that matters, in the right way, in the right order and sequence, because that matters too when it comes to the workshop, and you do it in a way that's compelling enough to your ideal clients to where it's like you're speaking their language, and then you drop your call to action, you will fill up. Like, you will get a lot of clients from the workshop or the masterclass. The problem is most people do it wrong, or they're saying the wrong words, or they're over teaching. It's like, my son Jackson, he just had his tonsils removed and he's 6. And so he's been getting a lot of ice cream. And if I go up to him, I'm like, hey buddy, do you want some strawberry ice cream? He's going to probably say no because he doesn't really like strawberry. But if I'm like, hey buddy, you want some chocolate ice cream? He's going to jump at the opportunity. It's the same thing. It's ice cream. It's just a different flavor. And so sometimes we're trying to say something to our audience, but they don't want it. And we're just saying it in slightly the wrong way, to where if we just change the word or two, it makes it incredibly more compelling. So it's very important that you do make sure you structure it right if you want to maximize the amount of conversions that you get from that. And then step 4 here, again, this is probably the most important thing of any that you do for any conversion event, is writing the hook. Because if you don't have a great hook, then you're going to struggle to get people to actually want to attend. No matter how good the actual training, masterclass, no matter how good your program is, you will struggle if you don't have a good hook. And there's many ways to write a hook. This is a very timeless hook where it's like outcome without thing they hate. So an example would be like, here's how to get 10 leads a week without sending cold DMs. Or I could say, hey, here's how to lose 20 plus pounds in the next 90 days without skipping barbecues during the summer and beers and wine or whatever. I could, thing that they hate or they're dreading having to get rid of. Okay. And again, there's so many ways to write hooks. I will link down below an example of different ways you can do hooks, from like contrarian hooks to counterintuitive hooks to very polarizing hooks. There's a lot of ways we can go about it. But the key here is we want to have a great hook. Otherwise, nothing matters. And the rule of thumb here is clear beats clever. You want your ideal client to read it and say, wait, that's me. You nailed it. Again, it goes back to the example that I just said with my son. It's like, if you say the wrong thing, you might think it's clever, you might think it's awesome, but if your ideal client's like, I don't think I want to dedicate 90 minutes for this, you're not going to get them. You just won't. But if it's very clear and it's compelling, you will. And so here's how this looks. The sequence is going to go, typically for most of my clients, I'll have them do 5 posts over 5 to 7 days, 1 call to action. So day 1, you're going to do what I call a raise hands post. This could look like a poll on your Instagram stories. This could be like a teaser style post or a call out. And the intention here is to flush out demand. That's the key. And I'm going to show you an example here in just a minute, so hang tight. The point is, we want something very, very direct that's going to get somebody to vote, that's going to get somebody to raise their hand, that's going to essentially spark interest. Day 2, we're going to have some type of belief shifting post. And the goal here is we want to use the same hook. Essentially, we can dress it up a little bit differently, but we want to use the same hook because we're guiding people towards, again, one event, one CTA. And so we want to structure the post to where we're breaking a belief that's going to block them from moving forward. So, for example, in this, if I'm like, here's how to get 10 plus leads a week without sending cold DMs or running more ads. Well, the belief might be that, hey, I've tried doing content campaigns before and it just hasn't worked. So I might have to break the belief and I might talk about, well, you weren't saying the right words in the right way to the right people. Your messaging or your positioning or how you communicated it was obviously off. And then I would break that belief by either telling a story, using a very simple metaphor. I could say something like in the belief shifting post, like, hey, imagine going to China and you speak zero Mandarin and you're trying to order food in English and they don't speak any English. It's going to be a frustrating experience. It's going to be really hard to order food. But if you knew how to speak Mandarin, magically, you can easily order Chinese food. It'd be a pleasant experience for both parties. That's kind of like what you're doing in your content. You think you're speaking the right language. You're saying words that you think you need to say, but your ideal client's not responding. So therefore, we need to fix the words, and then you'll start to get more response. And now people are like, oh, like I get it, right? And so some type of belief shifting post, and then put your call to action, and you will get more people to respond. And then day 3 is what I call your proof post. And so this is where you want to tell a client story. Okay. This is like a screenshot, maybe of a client, a DM, a case study that you have of somebody. And what we want to do here is tell a simple story. So again, going back to this example of the 10 quality leads, I might tell a story about my client Rachel, who had 1,900 Facebook friends. She was really struggling to get leads coming in, and she tried everything. She had tried running ads, she was posting content, she was like doing everything that she could think of. And then all we did is we tweaked her messaging, we picked the pain, we ran a campaign, and she got 100 and I think 97 leads in 2 weeks from this campaign, all from her Facebook profile. And then I can show a screenshot of Rachel being like, hey, oh my God, this is so crazy, right? And now people are like, well, dang, if she can do it, like I could probably do it, right? So now you get more people when you drop that call to action on this post. Does that make sense? And then typically you should build enough demand through these posts. Some of my clients, I might have them do some stories, or I might have them do a couple extra posts. It's all based on the demand that's created. Like my client, Holly, just ran a campaign a couple weeks ago. And I think we did like 3 to 5 posts and emails, and she got over 100 people registered for her workshop. So we were like, dope, that's a lot of people. So let's focus on like making sure we deliver well and convert afterwards. And then, then you want to do the launch. So if you're going to do the workshop, this is where it's like, you can do a post like last day, this is the workshop. If you're giving a lead magnet or VSL, you're just driving people to it. And then of course you want to make sure day 5 and beyond, you're DMing everybody that's reached out, that has shown interest. You're following up with them. And that's ultimately how you will maximize sales. But the cool thing is when you do the marketing piece right, you will get a lot of people that are reaching out. And so the part that nobody tells you with this, you don't necessarily need a bigger audience. Again, I just demonstrated that was a real story about my client Rachel. She didn't have that many. She had she didn't even have 2,000 friends on Facebook, and she was able to generate her biggest month in sales to date, which for her was like 13,000 or something like that. Then my client, I have a client, Shriyanka, who did an $80,000 month, and she was doing it off her Facebook at the time, and she maybe had 1,000 friends, which is decent, but contrast that to like I had another client that I did some consulting for. He had over 200,000 followers, and he came to me because he was like, bro, I'm not monetizing them. He was barely making 10K. Right. So the point is you don't need a bigger audience. You just need to make sure that you're saying the right words in the right way to the right people, and then running a campaign that your current audience can't ignore. Okay. Most coaches are trying to add more posts, or trying to do more, but like a true operator is going to add more intention, because one campaign run really well will beat 90 days of value content for the reasons that are already mentioned. And so your next move here, run one campaign in the next 10 days. I'm going to show you some examples in a minute, but you pick a pain, okay? You anchor it to one pillar, you pick a conversion event, you write the hook, and you post the sequences. So I will have a link for the cheat sheet in the description down below, but here's just some examples, okay, that I've run in the past. Hey, if I were to do a 5-part live video training on how to lose the belly, who would check it out? That's an example of a good teaser or poll or call to action post that you can run. And here's like a whole bunch that I've done that have been successful for myself and clients over the years. You can have this whole cheat sheet with buzzwords and all that stuff. And then I'll also have a checklist down below that you could feel free to download. to help you get started with this. And if there's any questions, let me know. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss out on more. Remember, your message matters. Don't be afraid to speak it. Bye for now.